For the last few months, I did mostly tech reviews. However, in recent times, I've been more and more inspired to also bring back somewhat of these journal entry type or documentation of my YouTube and business journey type videos, where I just talk about some thoughts, some theme overall, and maybe have a conversation with you in the comment section. This is mainly inspired by also looking again at others who are sharing these types of journeys on their YouTube channels. And to me, that is incredibly interesting to see other people's journey and how they went from wherever they started to wherever they are now. And in some way, this is of course also for maybe even my own personal recollections, so to speak, so that I may actually tap into what I were thinking at certain times throughout my own business journey, life journey, and so on and so forth. Now, this video here is the start of somewhat of a series in that. I have a bunch of ideas of topics I want to talk about, and I don't want to make them all too long and try to actually keep them somewhat short, maybe between sometimes 5, sometimes 15 minutes or so. Now, the topic of today's video specifically is about recognizing the potential of my own YouTube channel and what that might be able to do with my life. And that comes after having looked into some statistics, talking with all kinds of creators about the potential of YouTube, talking with Nicole about where we are standing in terms of our YouTube channel growth, with my channel that you're watching right now, with her yoga-focused YouTube channel that she's producing, and just overall conversations about the potential and greatness of this platform and what that actually can have in terms of an effect on your life if you start, for example, building a YouTube channel, building a blog, building a newsletter, building some kind of online business, and then grow from there to actually at some point potentially even be able to live off of those income potential or off of those earnings. Now, intellectually, I was always aware of the fact that YouTube will be able to do that because it does so for so many other creators, and some are demonstrating that it is actually able to provide a whole bunch of income and not just being able to live off of it, but living good off of the income of YouTube, some even getting rich and wealthy. So intellectually, that was already there. I already also understood and knew that this can be achieved relatively quickly, some cases, because not everybody has the breakout success. For example, 2 years ago, I saw this journey of one channel that basically went from 0 subscribers or maybe 1,000 to over 500,000 subscribers within the 6 weeks or something like that. Insane growth, insane potential in an extremely short amount of time. Now, I've been creating YouTube videos for years at this point, and I can't say that it was always easy. Now, for some reason, I am still sticking with it. I haven't lost my focus, my inspiration, my motivation. And in some ways, that is now bolstered up because, of course, I already have an income coming from YouTube and the affiliate income sources that are kind of related to that type of income. And if you've seen other videos that I made about this topic, I'm actually extremely close to being able to basically live off of YouTube and the affiliate income related to it completely and not need any other income sources anymore. So that is intellectually something that I understood. But on the other hand, during this whole journey, it was also kind of elusive. I was actually never really able to grasp that pathway and that future prediction. Because, of course, you can look back at the statistics that YouTube provided you with and you can see, oh, great, I earned this much this month and I made so many views last month and I earned so many new subscribers that are now subscribed to this channel. And that is looking back into the past. But what about the future? And there, my mind at least, has a tendency to sometimes see the grim and sometimes the extremely positive. So in one case, I think, what if it breaks down? What if it actually is less next month than it is now? And keep in mind, at this stage right now, I'm not in a position where I have a positive buffer, meaning I earn more than I need per month to live off of. So if that were the case, it might be a little dampened, because when you have a buffer of, let's say, 500 euros, you earn more than you actually need for your living expenses, then a fluctuation of 500 euros plus or minus isn't going to be that much of a big deal. But if you are very close to that, let's say you earn 1,000 euros and you need 1,000 euros, then earning 100 euros less in any given month is not going to be very pleasant, because it will eventually have an impact on your life. Now, in that way, I again have these grim future predictions, which is it's not going to grow, or it's going to grow incredibly slow. So what am I going to do until I actually hit certain milestones where it is going to flip that lever over to the area where it is a positive income rather than something or something of a overflowing income, rather than something where it's basically just very, very close cut to not making debt in that sense. So that's the grim side. But the positive side, oftentimes in my head, it has this aspect of, I just need that one video that shoots out of the others and earns a couple of hundred euros in a given month. And that would flip the switch with just a finger snap. And then there's these ideas of maybe there's this one breakout video that will gain 5,000 subscribers and 500,000 or 1 million views within the next couple of weeks. And then from there, the growth will be much, much faster, or just overall heightened from that point forward. So that's the positive side. But again, those are all just imaginary. Now, in my journey on YouTube, I haven't seen any of those real explosions on my channel. I have never had a video really go viral in that sense. I had one experience when I was reaching or about to reach the 1,000 subscriber mark. And at that point, a video about Ken Honda and his book Happy Money went not really viral, but it was at least found a lot through search. And I think that at the time, Ken Honda might have done a press tour or something, and the book kind of reached more people, and that way my video also got viewed a lot more. But that was nowhere near like 500,000 views or something like that, and it only, in quotes, helped me to actually gain the ability to monetize. And so all of the views that were gained throughout that quick explosion weren't necessarily helpful in that realm, because they were not yet monetized. I only got monetized right after that happened. But since then, it's been steady growth. Some months it was slower. Some month I was actually slowing down in terms of the income was less than the previous month and such things. But overall, it's been 2 years that I have been monetized. And the growth that I've seen from the start, where the first month was around 70 euros in earnings, and now being on YouTube and just the AdSense income alone is around 500 to 600 euros per month. So that is in itself an incredible journey, but it has been 2 years where I still put out a lot of videos. And there are numerous topics in that realm that might be worth talking about in terms of, is it worth it to put out lots of videos? Is it worth it to focus on more the quality videos and just doing a couple of them? Doing it regularly versus having sprints and stuff like that. There are numerous topics that are interesting in that realm, but not the topic of today's video, because of course there are also numerous reasons for doing certain things. But again, that might be topic of another video. But now let's talk about what happened a couple of days ago, which kind of took the grim and positive future imaginations that I had in my mind and made them somewhat more graspable and more realistic. And that has everything to do with the page Social Blade. Now, if you are on YouTube a lot, if you're a creator yourself, maybe you already know Social Blade. If you don't, Social Blade essentially is a website that collects statistics data about different YouTube channels, mostly all other YouTube channels. And the interesting thing is that everybody can view these types of statistics. And of course, there are statistics that only the creators can use normally about their own channel. Here on this page, you can look at my channel and you can see exactly the same page that I am seeing here on this screen. And you can take a look at what their growth looks like, how it went over the last few months and years. And of course, you also have, for example, income estimations. However, those of course are just estimations. What Social Blade also does is they're predicting the future based on your growth. Now, I have not yet found any in-depth information about how they are collecting the data here or how they are calculating the data here in terms of what are the formulas, what is the data that they are basing this information on. What I can say is I have looked at it from a couple of different perspectives. And if you look at the graphs here, you can see that it's not just linear. So there's some kind of a formula that is taking into account the last few months, maybe in terms of growth. I don't know. But what struck me when I was looking at this was when I clicked on the subscriber milestone look or the overview here, and I looked at the 1 year mark, it said I would reach 20,000 subscribers within the next 12 months. And with that, it also says that until that point, I will gain about 5.29 or 5.3 million views overall on the channel. But now the crazy thing and the mind-blowing moment was when I imagined, okay, this site is a third party. That's not me. That's not my imagination. They are taking some of my numbers and they're basically making an estimation and a calculation based on that, how my growth might end up going over the next 12 months. The really interesting number for someone who is trying to make a living off of YouTube and build something here to be able to sustain life for myself, potentially family and all of that. The views were the interesting thing. I know I make about €6 per 1,000 views. And if I imagine or take this estimation and say, okay, in the next 12 months, I will gain about 4 million views. Now, if I take that number and I say 4 million, I divide that by 1,000 and multiply that by 6. And that came down to €24,000 just earned from YouTube AdSense based on this estimation, which is somewhat based on my current growth and based on the current RPM that YouTube is paying me on average. And I hope that is interesting to you because that is, for me, that was a completely mind-blowing moment to realize that this means that in the next 12 months, I basically will have an income of €2,000 per month from YouTube. Now, this is gross income, so this is, of course, not net income. I will have to pay taxes on all of that and those things. But just the imagination that right now I'm clearing about €500 to €600 from YouTube. And based on this estimation, that will be like 4 times as much. That was mind-blowing to me because that in itself would mean basically if I stick to the growth that I currently have and I produce the videos that I want to be making here on the channel and I don't slack, I grow here, I put the effort in and I produce the videos that are interesting to you as the viewer, that means that I'm going to hit that number. And that means that I will be able to completely sustain my life based on YouTube ad revenue. And that was completely, for me, that was a moment of realizing that this is actually real. This is not my own imagination that is kind of making these numbers up. This is someone else's numbers. This is a formula that someone thought about. And actually, based on these numbers and the numbers that I checked a couple of days ago, the 7,500 subscriber mark was supposed to be hit on May 12th. Now I see May 8th. So right now, at least, I'm on track to hitting those numbers. Actually, I'm overachieving hitting those numbers. Based on, again, this is all an estimation. This is not real numbers. This is not a guarantee, but it is a third party. And that was the important part for me, realizing that a third party makes an estimation about the growth of this channel and how that might end up looking. And for me, taking these numbers and saying, okay, cool, this is real. This means that this is right now pretty much the most profitable thing that I've ever done out of all of the passive income stream methods and ideas, online business methods and ideas. I've never had an online business that was earning this much money in my life except for freelance work. But this is something that I'm, in a way, much more passionate about because it is something that I put my energy into and that has so much more potential on the back end. So what am I going to do with this? For me, it was a complete mind shift. It basically meant that I, in theory, I could just hunker down, do nothing else besides YouTube because the estimations are here. The numbers are here that this year I will be able to pay everything that I will have to spend money on based on the income that YouTube will earn me. And this is, of course, these estimations, they are not even taking into consideration whether or not there are affiliate earnings or not. This is just YouTube AdSense. And in that way, it was a weight that was lifted off of my shoulders because, again, it's a third party, not my own imagination. Now, before this, it was extremely hard to believe this because it was only my own imagination. And in many ways, my own brain stands in the way of my own success in some times. And that by itself is, by the way, another video topic that I want to cover in the coming days and weeks. But these estimations, 20,000 subscribers, almost 5 million or 5.5 million views by January or February 2023. That's crazy. And so all of this brings me to a point where I want to put more effort into these videos because, of course, when something that takes care of your income completely, then that is worth putting in more effort. And it gives me motivation and looking forward to that moment of flipping that switch of, yes, right now, I don't need any other income sources except for YouTube. And just having that security, that peace of mind is something that was a complete game changer for me with this realization. Now, I have a couple of interesting topics that are based on this specific idea that was realized here, because of course that's just the beginning in some ways of this journey. And two of the ideas that I will try to cover relatively shortly after uploading this video are: how is this going to affect me and my decision making? So what exactly am I going to change based on this information? But also, what would all of this look like if I were to 10x that goal? Because of course now I have this estimation, which is based on the current growth and all of that. It's like, it's simple numbers. It's not something where something crazy happens. But what if I take this as the cornerstone and I imagine what would life look like, and also how would my business look like, and my ideas and all of that? What would I have to do if I 10x that goal? Instead of 20,000, 200,000 subscribers, instead of 5 million, 50 million views, instead of 24,000 euros, 240,000 euros in the next 12 months. What would that look like? What would I have to do? And how would that impact my life? Now, all of this is hopefully interesting to you. It definitely is something that I want to document for myself because it is such a mind-blowing moment. And these thoughts are just constantly in my head when thinking about all of this process and this effort that I put into this and all of that. Now, maybe you are a creator on this journey as well. Let me know in the comment section down below. Let's connect and maybe talk about these types of things that are not necessarily discussed everywhere on YouTube. A lot of things are very tactical and the methods as to how to create a thumbnail, how to create your videos, what tech to use. And of course, I have those videos here and I probably will make those videos here as well. But this type of check-in, this realization around these things, these brain games in some way that are going on always and potentially even distracting us and talking us ourselves out of doing something, even though we know that the potential is there, like all of those things I want to also bring here because it feels important. I hope you could take something out of this video, and I hope to see you in one of the next videos where I talk about these previously mentioned topics of 10xing this goal, what it would mean for life, and continuing on this documentation journey. Now, with all that said, I hope you have an amazing day. Make it your life, grow your channel, your passion, whatever it is. Imagine the potential, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.